It's Chris, Liege Games. What do you think of reprints? What do you think of second editions? What do you think of Kickstarters that put out upgraded editions for the same price, for a higher price, for a lower price? Do you want to see remastered editions? Do you want to see games redone? That's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. And this is directly in response to sort of what has come out now this week with Everdell, as well as a couple other projects that I've seen in passing and have caught my interest, and I think it's worth talking about. Now, when you think of a new edition of a game, what do you expect from a new edition? Do you expect new artwork? Do you expect new rules or errata that's been improved? Are you expecting it to be tweaks of the game originally? Or are you expecting it to be sort of a 2.0 version? Or in some cases, a 3.0 version? Are you okay with paying more to upgrade your previous edition? Are you okay if someone else pays less for an upgraded version than you did for the original, plus maybe the upgrade? What types of games should be getting reprints? What types of games should be getting new editions? Where do we draw that line? When is it okay for that to happen? I think, honestly, the market will tell people. But my fear is that alongside the market is this overwhelming sense of consumerism and completionist. Because what I also see when these new editions or new versions of games come out is you see people dumping perfectly fine copies, paying more for some of these tweaks that I may have mentioned. I have no problem with if you think it's a better game as a new edition. I have plenty of those. I have Middara, I have Machina Arcana 2.0, but what about games that there isn't an issue with from that side of things, where it is sort of tried and true and tested and well done? And I think this is spawned by just what we have seen and my concern about where this is going in the future. Not just on Kickstarter, but across the hobby as a whole. Let me show you a few examples. Now, here you have the new expansions for Everdell. And the controversy that's come up with this, because I kid you not, I logged onto Facebook last night, my feed, and my feed is typically only full of buy, sell, trade stuff and a few other smatterings, Facebook being what it is. But lo and behold, I kid you not, I literally had like 4 people, separate people, selling collections of Everdell. And I saw more today. And they are offering, with this new Everdell Kickstarter, a game from 2018, 2 new big box expansions. Now, the controversy with this is not any of the lower pledge levels, but this higher pledge level for $199, the complete pledge. And you can see 4,000 people are already backing this pledge. And so what has happened, and this is really a weird phenomenon, interesting phenomenon, and it's going to be really interesting to see how the market responds to this, because you have people backing it at $199 and then trying to sell their collections of the first 3 expansions plus the base game for nearly this price so that they can essentially get the new stuff for a lot lower amount. Now, there was a discussion on one of the groups that I saw tonight saying, well, this is clearly the time they can get the most value. And I made the counter argument, well, no, this is not the time where you're going to get the most value. Because if you're paying attention at all, if people are trying to dump this so they can buy this, it's a buyer's market, not a seller's market. Seller's market is going to be after the Kickstarter when people are trying to get it and can't get it. The reason being, each of these will cost you somewhere upwards of $50. And so they're looking at 50, 100, 150, 200, and then all the new stuff plus all the extras, and you're only paying 200 for all of it. So how do you feel about that? Like, if you're a previous backer of Everdell, if you are an early adopter, or if you're an early, let's just say, supporter, because that's what it is, right? That's what it is. You're a supporter because this game may not have gotten made otherwise, right? That's the whole gist of Kickstarter, isn't it? And so with some of that comes, I think, the growing pains, like with Middara, with Machina Arcana. The question just is, do companies reward those who backed early? Or, in this case, are you rewarding people who are trying to get in now? And you see it split both ways. You definitely do. Because there is some risk and reward. There are some exclusives, but most of the time exclusives are not the thing that is changed. It's usually a price point. Middara, the value of Middara from the first Kickstarter, for example, but it was anything but a safe bet at this point. It's unlike some of this stuff. But the value there, returning backers got a much better value than what it was sold for on the second Kickstarter. But they also need the 1.1 upgrade. So it wasn't a complete, favor in the new guys or the old guys, returning backers. You could make an argument that this is clearly on the side of new people coming in, and that is why they've already got 4,000. Almost 50% of the people are just getting that pledge level. Now, I guess I don't understand. If you have all that stuff, even if you've already spent all that money, like, you're not recouping your cost by selling it if you bought that for anywhere close to $200 for a whole. And then you're paying an additional whatever amount of dollars to get the rest. So I guess I don't understand that mindset. If you already have all of this, just get the additional and just call it good. Because I feel like you're going to lose more otherwise. But, again, that is sort of an issue with the reprint side of things. Now, let's take a look at a little bit different aspect of things. Castles of Mad King Ludwig, as well as Suburbia, both the collector's editions, both from Bezier Games. Now, this is a different avenue or aspect of that element. Now, this is completely different because the very interesting thing in this point is that neither of these games, unlike almost everything else you've heard me mention so far, these are retail games now moving to the crowdfunding side of things. Neither of them, you can make an argument, needed a reprint. Now, when I say needs a reprint, okay, it's completely out of stock, it's completely out of print. You're putting a game like On the Underground or something like Forbidden Stars or something along those lines that you're just not going to be able to get it, essentially, unless a reprint comes along. And this was clearly not the case in either of these two. And this is where the tricky part is coming in, is I think these were sort of testing the waters for future plans and thoughts. Because now you have seen people do the similar dump-ish for a game like this, because you saw a lot of these come up for sale when these two Kickstarter campaigns came, and people getting rid of their basic copies and buying one of these. And yes, more splendid, more artwork, new stuff, great. But my concern is that they also took two games that had no need for a reprint, a 2.0, an upgrade, and did it anyway. Now, if you want to make the argument that they could have just done the new stuff, the expansions, the modules, whatever they wanted to do as an addition, great. But what scares me about this is that more and more people are going to see this, see the money that was earned from this. I mean, these are not small campaigns, $1.5 and $1.8 million each. And they're going to duplicate this down the line. Now, you can make an argument that there are definitely some games out there that would benefit from this. Something like Five Tribes, if you will, which has one of the expansions that's gone out of print. But Suburbia? Mad King? Like, what else is going to be next, is my fear. What other game are they going to take and deluxify to the nth degree? Because they can, because people will do it from a collector's, almost consumerism pure standpoint. Not just because the game is that much better or the game is that much different. And let me be clear here. I am not the end-all be-all expert of dicing, which one's needed and which ones don't. Like, don't read too much into this. I'm posing this as a question because, frankly speaking, I don't know. But what concerns me is that neither of these games were also terribly old. Like, if you took Tigris and Euphrates and updated it or something like that, that'd been out for a while. But the problem is, and the problem I'm seeing along this side of things, is that you're taking games that really don't need it, really have no reason for it. And my fear is it's just driven by this side of things, the cash side of things, cash, and other companies are going to see that and follow suit. We've already seen it a few other areas with the Tiny Epic games. How many versions of like Tiny Epic Kingdoms or Ultra Tiny Epic Kingdoms or Ultra Tiny Epic Kingdoms Light Super Deluxe, or even just, I think Tiny Epic Galaxies has had 3 versions or something right now, hasn't it? Latest one has like completely new artwork. Was any of that really necessary? So that's my concern. How much more of this are we going to see? And again, how much FOMO is going to be created by this? Because part of it, let's be honest, again, is FOMO. Like, you see these marketed all the time, whether it's this one, whether it's one of these big boxes, whatever it may be. The whole disclaimer gets thrown on there of, well, this is going to be Kickstarter exclusive, except, if we maybe have a few for conventions or our retail shop, or, we can't guarantee it. It's going to be a limited print run. You've heard all those terms. This sort of this will they, won't they? And then that drives the fear of missing out, which ends up backing the campaign, or it drives the fear of secondary market and the scalping price goes up significantly because people don't know. So they're buying it quickly right when it gets to backers because they're not sure if they're going to be able to get it 6 months later. And then, like I mentioned at the beginning, there's a whole nother element or side of things, like with Machina Arcana, where you're offering a new upgraded edition each time it's come out. And now, Machina Arcana, I like this game. It's a very different game. It's a very difficult game. It's a very dark game for a dungeon crawl. It does things in a completely different way. That's a whole nother video. But they offered, during this Kickstarter campaign, 6 months or so after 2.0 finally got to backers, like myself, they offered a new core, was basically put out there as a 3.0 version. Like, hey, sorry, we still had a lot of stuff messed up from 2.0. So here's a completely new thing. Well, not completely new, but you know what I'm saying. And when this launched initially, they were like, you know what? 2.0 people, we hear you. We know that you like the 2.0 and you don't like hearing that there's a 3.0, but you know what? Sell your 2.0 and we'll give you $25 credit to use for the new core on your own. So you only have to pay $35. Well, you can imagine it didn't really sit that well with people. So after the initial response, we'll put in the comments section and elsewhere, they actually added that they were going to include an upgrade kit-ish for all returning backers in one of these other expansion levels, right, like here. So the question just is, how do you treat your returning backers in a situation like this when you do have a new upgrade or a new addition? Because some have done well and some have not when it comes to playing to their original core audience. And this is a somewhat divisive issue. Like, people are a little bit entitled feeling when they back something early and they support it in that way, and they want to be rewarded for that. Now, part of that is you have a copy before other people. But does that entitle you to a better deal, a free upgrade later on, if something changes drastically when they put out a new product or something very similar? And on the other side, just because they put out something similar, do you need that upgrade? Do you need the complete edition of the deluxifications? Do you need the shiny big box of Everdell that all kind of goes together? Or is it more just worth saving money and getting them separately in that way? I don't know. Like, I mean, I feel like you could make a very good argument either way, but I think it's something that we need to talk about because we're seeing a lot of it. Because as you see, and as much as I hate this statement, because it gets thrown around a lot, especially by Kickstarter contrarians, well, if it's good on Kickstarter, it's going to come back to Kickstarter, and so you don't have to worry about FOMO. Or it's going to come to retail. As much as I hate that, there is also, I will freely admit, there is some truth to that. And that is the crux of the dilemma. Because as you see in our hobby, there is an element of, first, it's on buyers' sides of things. Like when I buy a game, it does give me that nice warm feeling of I'm one of the first people to get this game. Like, I'm guilty of that just as much as everybody else. You're seeing that right now with Stardew Valley, right? Right? If you haven't seen those prices, people have been scalping Stardew Valley, which was $50 before shipping, for anywhere between $150 to $250 online. First, people didn't even read the rules. They just bought it, and now they're reselling it because, oh my gosh, surprise, surprise, just like a lot of other stuff, it's not what you expected. But there's also that on the content creator side of things. Like, you've heard me say this before, like, I like having some stuff out when it's appropriate. And if I'm first, great. If I'm not, so be it. Because my goal isn't to be first. My goal is to put out something that I think is timed appropriately. So like with those should you back videos, well, yeah, I haven't done a whole lot of those because they're really hard to do at the beginning of campaigns when half the stretch goals aren't even unlocked and you're not sure what else is going to be coming because they're going to throw 3 expansions towards the end of the campaign to get the boost up in the money in the first place. So it's on both sides of things. Video people side of things as well as buyer side of things. And that's the dilemma, is how important is that? Because I saw a how to play playthrough of Stardew Valley within, like 24 hours of people getting it. Again, first, want to get the clicks. Want to be the tortoise. Can't be the hare. Me personally, as an aside, I don't really care if I'm the hare. It's cool. You should see my walking pace. My wife hates it. She refuses to walk with me because I walk so slow. But, that's, I think, the approach I take to the videos too, is it's going to be what it's going to be, folks. And you guys have been great so far. Let me put it out there. You know, we are over 1,500. I'll throw this out there. I got some advice from Jeremy Howard, maybe going to watch this, and so shout out to him. And he gave me some great advice. And so I sent a bunch of emails to a bunch of game companies, and I said, hey, here's my stuff. Here's my channel. Here's a video. This is what people like about me. That's you guys. Because it's not just me. And hey, you know, I'd be interested in, you know, talking about your game sometime. Let me know what you think. And a couple have gotten back to me. And a couple have said, we don't really have anything for you. And we don't really have a whole lot. And we'll put you on a list. And a couple have said, hey, you interested in this? So where I'm going with this is hopefully over the next couple weeks, I'll have a couple more videos out there about games review-esque videos. Now, let me be clear about that as well. This is not going to be a typical review. I'm going to give you some points, some high points, some low points. And I think I'm going to include something at the end there that's going to be, hey, would I buy this? Because, I mean, like I said, they're sending me a copy. And to be very clear, like I said before when I got in contact with Stonemeyer Games, I said thanks but no thanks because those games don't fit with, one, I think what you guys resonate with about me in the first place, and two, they don't resonate with me in terms of what I like to play. So if it's not a game that I'm going to like already from the beginning, I'm not going to show it to you guys on here. You know, that's not good use of either one of our times. So, long story short, hopefully I'll have a few of those things out there. And there are some very nice people out there that work in the marketing and the PR side of things. I'll tell you that. Danny, Pandasaurus, she's been great. If you're not familiar, go check it out. The Loop, my favorite game from 2020, is getting released by them. So I can't wait for that to get the hype that it deserves. Anyway, side note. So those are my thoughts. Like, what do we need to see in this hobby? And like I said, I think some games out there could absolutely benefit and use a reprint. But at the other time, I think it scares me that some of these are going to get reprints, are going to get collector's editions, because it's going to be harder and harder to choose, what do I want? Am I okay with this old edition? I mean, we saw it with Hamburg and Amsterdam as well. Where is that line? So there you go. Those are my thoughts. Those are what's upcoming. And we'll just kind of see where things go from here. Again, big shout out to you guys. Amazing. I mean, I never thought I'd be at this many subscribers ever. So the fact that you guys are willing to put up with my rambling and my ranting and my rolling, I didn't forget that, is great. Again, just thank you. Thank you. If you like what I do, click somewhere, wherever. Thanks. Have a great week. Kickstarter videos this weekend. We'll see what else pops up. Maybe even a new hotness news on Monday. So keep on the lookout. As always, stay classy. See you around in the comment section.